Hey, this is Ryan. We need to talk. I prefer to be optimistic, to believe that people, human beings, are generally mostly good. Now, I'm not hopelessly naive by any means. I'm well aware that the human race is deeply flawed. Human beings are capable of such atrocities that even wild animals would never consider enacting upon one another. But nonetheless, I prefer to have hope. I prefer to be optimistic, but that hope and that optimism is challenged on the daily. When I am presented with these stories, these events, these situations that are so clear-cut, so obvious, have definitive, easily distinguishable antagonists and victims. One party clearly being in the wrong, and the other clearly being in the right. In this particular instance, what sparked the creation of this video, the Grace Van Dien FaZe scandal. For those of you out of the loop and or unaware of the situation, please go check out Philip DeFranco's video breaking down the whole debacle. I first learned of this mess from Phil's video myself. Now you see, silly me, I made the assumption that this was a clear, cut-and-dry case of who was the victim, who was the antagonist, who was in the right, who was in the wrong. I mean the immensity of the irrationality and mental gymnastics one would have to produce in order to come to the absolutely illogical conclusion that Grace was somehow in the wrong at all, was the villain in this situation in any way whatsoever. Like, it's truly impossible. No one could possibly. And people wonder why gamers are stereotyped as misogynistic incels. Let's take gender out of the equation here, out of the conversation here for but a moment. Let's look at the facts. The esports organization FaZe Clan announced they had a new member joining. The individual FaZe Rain made a tweet leaking who the new member joining was, while also disrespecting this person, saying the only reason they were being hired was simply because they were on a TV show and nothing more. The disrespected person in question, Grace, whom had never interacted with this other individual, Rain, beforehand, they have never met before, they don't know each other. Keep this in mind, FaZe Rain does not know her, has not met her, and is bizarrely, out of left field, disrespecting this person. So the person being disrespected retorts with,
I'm sorry, sir. Were you in the meeting with us? Were you there? No, I've never met you. So, get wrecked. To everyone saying that.
A pretty light, unsensational retort. Nothing to really be offended over, nor a justifiable excuse to escalate the situation whatsoever. But, alas, how does Mr. Rain respond to this? A fully grown adult, not a teenager, not a child, a fully grown adult. What is his reaction to someone saying, "get wrecked" to him in jest?
Not only have you not hit a trick shot, but you don't even know what the that is. When you were still playing with Barbies, I made my first million out of this industry. And on top of it, you're excruciatingly mid who I would never let touch me on my drunkest night.
What the fuck? You fucking freak? This was originally a disagreement about the business practices of an esports organization, where the individual FaZe Rain disrespected a total stranger. The disrespected stranger fires back with, "You don't know what you're talking about, get wrecked," in jest, and Rain's rebuttal to that, again, to a complete stranger, these people, these two adults, do not know each other. But nonetheless, Rain thinks it's appropriate to respond with, "You're ugly, I wouldn't even have sex with you if I were drunk." Earlier in the video I said, let's remove gender from the equation in the conversation, because I wanted all of the individuals who would somehow be dismissive of this whole exchange to absorb the facts of how this back and forth transpired and come to the understanding that regardless of gender, there was a clear initiator, there was a clear aggressor, there is only one party that escalated the situation: FaZe Rain. The facts are the facts. But now, let's bring gender back into the equation, back into the conversation, and let's be truly honest with one another. Let's not bullshit, let's not beat around the bush. Rain never would have made that attack on Grace's looks, never would have sexualized or made that sexual comment if Grace wasn't a woman. I know it, and you know it. Grace is a victim, and in the right. Rain is a douchebag, and in the wrong. This shouldn't be controversial. This shouldn't be up for debate. This shouldn't even be political as some are trying to make it out to be. There shouldn't have been numerous troglodytes and imbeciles stating that, oh, FaZe Clan was going woke. Oh, social justice strikes again. Delusional. Utterly delusional. It shouldn't be controversial to show common decency to your fellow human beings. It shouldn't be controversial to show some basic decorum when engaging with other adults and strangers alike. Rain was needlessly hostile, beyond rude, and objectively sexist. It's not up for debate. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, Rain was, and still is, morally in the wrong. Grace is the only victim in this situation, not Rain, and anyone who believes otherwise is a fool. But I guess there are literally tens of thousands of fools who think Rain did nothing wrong, and that Grace is somehow the villain. Gentlemen, my guys, my boys, my dudes, come here. We can no longer simply try to ignore the obvious sexism and misogyny in the gaming community. Yes, I know. Oh, but I'm not one of them. Stop generalizing, Ryan. Not all gamers are sexist and misogynist. Sure, of course, not all. But look at these fucking numbers. Quite literally, tens of thousands who side with Rain, who was blatantly sexist to a woman simply for being a woman in the video games industry. This is a sizable amount of men, not a few losers in some dark corner of the internet. This is a sizable amount of men who are out in the open supporting a man who harassed another person for no good reason whatsoever. My position shouldn't be a controversial one. I live by the credo of judging people by their content of character. Is that not fair? Most of my best friends, who I love ever so dearly, whom I would give my life for, are women. And I love them so, not because they are women, not because of the gender, not because of what's between their legs. I love them because they are good people. I love them for whom they are as people. And as we can see, so the numbers show, there is a sizable amount of men in the gaming community who do not see women as people. When they see another man, they see another human being. When they see a woman, they see either an enemy out to get them or as an object for them to project their sexual desires onto. Looking beyond just the Grace FaZe Rain situation, look at the rise of Andrew Tate. The sexism is real. The misogyny is real. This isn't some propaganda by SJWs trying to take over and ruin your video games. Guys, just because you are not being a misogynistic piece of shit, and just because you personally haven't experienced the same sexism and blatantly sexist comments thrown at you for just being a woman, just because you haven't personally experienced that, just because you don't engage in that behavior, doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and it doesn't mean it's not a problem. Brothers, stand by your sisters. Support your fellow human beings. Do not give these bigots and these uncouth losers a foothold. Don't let their worthless buzzwords like simp or white knight deter you. They don't have logic or morals on their side, so they resort to dehumanizing, shaming, ad hominem remarks. For the women in our lives that we care about, we have to do better, guys. If we enable this behavior, if we don't push back against it, it will only get worse. Do not allow the strawmans and the false equivalencies and the gish galloping dissuade you. There are genuine individuals out there, people, men, who see women as lesser to them. This isn't propaganda. This is fact. This is the truth. The Grace FaZe Rain scandal puts that on full display. I love video games, and I want everyone to be able to experience video games. And it breaks my heart that there are people out there, women out there, who are terrified to get into gaming, to make it a hobby, to make it a career. They are terrified to get involved with gaming because of all these freaks and losers that will go after them if they do. Those women deserve better. My friends who have to put up with this fucking garbage on the daily deserve better. Judge people by the content of their character. Introduce yourself with common decency and proper decorum, but if they go the low road, well, I think Asmongold said it best.
He shouldn't have said that and made it personal. I'll take the high road. I'll stay on the high road. It's no problem. But if you take the low road, I'll meet you there. That's what I think.